Hello, I'm here for my second pumpkin video. I haven't quite got the lighting sorted out, but seeing as it's Halloween, I think it's quite fitting to have slightly spooky lighting. So what I'm going to be making now is I'm making a pumpkin chocolate loaf cake. And this is actually using pumpkin that has been roasted in the, I'll just tip it out actually so we can see it. Oh, it got stuck on the door. That has been roasted in the oven and then pureed. So this one has actually been frozen. It was a case of, oh, I've already got some pumpkin puree in the freezer. So this is what you need. So pumpkin puree, basically you roast your pumpkin, roast it in chunks. So it goes in a hot oven for let me just check actually how long I did it for. For 180 degrees, it goes in the oven at 180 degrees for 40 minutes. And then when it comes out, you can mash it with a potato masher or you can blitz it with a hand blender and you end up with pumpkin puree like this. So it is literally just roasted pumpkin mashed up. So we're going to use that. Now I am making a vegan version of the recipe that I have made before. It's not vegan, it's dairy free. I'm making a dairy free pumpkin cake because I don't eat dairy, or I try to avoid eating dairy and eat more plant-based. Let me go see if I can sort that light out. There we go. I eat plant-based as much as I can do, and I am making this for a friend who actually has a dairy allergy. So I'm avoiding dairy in this cake. So the ingredients for the cake are, and I will put this recipe up because this is a really nice cake, and it's a great thing to do with perhaps if you made a pumpkin lantern and yours was quite thick, you just scooped out the seeds. Don't throw your lantern away tomorrow. You can chop it up and roast it, and then once it's been roasted, you can basically scoop the flesh off the thick rind and make pumpkin puree with it. So we've got 125 grams of butter that's been melted. Now, as I said, this one is dairy free. So I've used Flora Buttery, which is dairy free, although unfortunately they have now changed the recipe and put bloomin' buttermilk in it. But I've still got some from when it was dairy free. So, use whatever dairy free margarine you've got. So there's 125 grams of that, and it's just melted. It's just been melted in the microwave. And then you need 3 large eggs. So this is why it's not vegan, because it's got eggs in. So, but I get mine from a local farm where I know they're running around, and I can see them in the field. So at least I know I've got them from Happy Hens. So 3 large free-range eggs, and it's 200 grams of your pumpkin puree, and then 200 grams of natural yogurt. So I'm using soya yogurt. I didn't have any natural yogurt, but I did actually have, I'm just knocking things off my kitchen. I did have some soy vanilla yogurt, which I thought will go fine in the cake. But because it's got a little bit of sugar in it, I've knocked some of the sugar off the recipe. So it's 200 grams of plain yogurt. If you're not doing dairy free, you can obviously just use normal yogurt. I've gone for soya yogurt. And then it's 175 grams of flour. I've got a mix of both plain white flour and wholemeal flour, just to make me feel better about myself eating cake. At least it's got more fibre in it, this cake, because it's got the fibre from the pumpkin, and it's also got a bit of wholemeal flour in as well. So I'm a bit more for stealth health in my food. Then you're going to need baking powder, so 3 teaspoons of baking powder and 175 grams of light brown sugar. I've knocked off 13 grams because there's sugar, 13 grams of sugar in the yogurt. And then we are going to be just using mixed spice and a little tiny pinch of salt. Okay, so let's get started. Right, I've already melted my marge and I'm leaving that to cool. So I'm just going to sieve my flour. So that's my mixture of plain white and plain wholemeal flour. If you're not a fan of, if you feel like wholemeal's too healthy, you just want to stick with with cakiness, then just use all plain. And then of course there's all the wheat germ left in the bottom. I'm trying to get as much of that as possible. And the reason for sieving your flour is just so that you don't have any lumps of flour in your cake batter. Right, okay, so that's my flour. Then you can mix in your, oh, I missed out an ingredient, sorry, it's hiding here. This is a chocolate pumpkin loaf cake. So I have 150 grams of dark chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate if you prefer, but obviously this cake's dairy free, so we've gone for dark chocolate chips. Right, so we put all our dry ingredients together. So we've got the flours in, and then we are using 2.5 teaspoons of mixed spice. Sounds a lot, but we want to get that spicy flavour into the cake. So 1. Which is kind of typical of when we're making anything with pumpkins that's sweet. It's quite often spiced. If you really don't like the spice, miss it out and maybe put in a bit of vanilla extract instead. So that's the spice. I want a little pinch of salt. So a little pinch. And since it's Halloween, I better throw the salt over my shoulder for the spirits, hadn't I? Does it ward them off? Does it? I've forgotten. I did used to know what that superstition was, but I've forgotten. Right, so then we just get a balloon whisk just to mix the dry ingredients together. And then at this stage, I also add the sugar. Sorry, I'm just, I've not made this cake for a couple of years actually, so I did need to, to dig out the recipe. So yeah, I think I'm adding the sugar now as well. Yes, I am. So it's all the dry ingredients. So it's the flour, the spice, the sugar. You mustn't forget the baking powder. So it's 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And if your baking powder's got lumps in it, do pop that through your sieve, but mine's okay. So 1, 2, 3. This recipe is with plain flour, but I'm using plain flour all the time now, just because when we first went into lockdown and I couldn't get any self-raising flour, I just got used to changing my recipes to being with plain flour. Right, so you can see that's all nicely combined, and I'm also going to tip in 2/3 of the chocolate chunks, or mine are chocolate chips. If you didn't have chocolate chips, I mean, I get these from our refill shop, so if you have a refill shop near you, check them out. They may well sell chocolate chips. Obviously, if you don't have chocolate chips, just get a bar of chocolate and chop it up. So 150 grams. So I've put in about 100 grams there. We'll just stir that round. Right. So I'm going to use this bowl to combine my wet ingredients. So that's my melted butter or marge, depending on what you're going for. Oh, I've not got a spatula. I will go and get one. I can't bake without a spatula. I feel like that's Well, I can obviously, but I do feel like it's a very important ingredient, a spatula. Make sure you get everything that's left in the bowl. Right, so melted butter, and you're adding to this the rest of the wet ingredients. So that's your 3 eggs. Managed to get a little bit of something in the butter there. Let's scoop that out. Don't know what it is. A teaspoon. We'll sort that out. Come here, what are you? Don't know. Oh, I think it's a little bit of the wheat germ from the flour. Right, so there's 1. It says 3 large eggs, but you don't need to be that fussy about the size of them. Obviously, if you're buying free-range eggs, like or farm eggs, well, free-range farm eggs, then they're not going to be exact about what the size are. You just get what you get. You get what the chicken lays. So I'm mixing up the egg with the melted margarine, making a nice thick mixture there. Okay. So into that also goes the yogurt. So natural yogurt or a dairy-free alternative like soy yogurt. I've used the Oatly, well, I actually think I've used Oatly Creme Fraiche in baking before, which was good. And the Coconut Collaborative is another one that's good as well, for those of you like me who are avoiding dairy. And then your pumpkin also goes into your bowl of wet ingredients, and then just lightly whisk that up. Just lightly whisk that up so that you've got all your wet ingredients mixed together. Okay. I'm going to get a spatula for this bit, and I'll move these eggs out of the way. Because what I'm going to do now, I'm sure you've guessed it, is I'm going to combine. Now I've already got a well in the centre of my dry ingredients there. Oh, hello, I've got a couple of people watching, Matt and John. Hello, nice to see you watching. How are you going to get your bake on later? So into the dry ingredients, just pour all your wet ingredients. I'm not doing very well today with my wet ingredients. What's in this one here? Oh, it's a little bit of from the egg. Sometimes you get the little red spots in the albumin of the egg, and that's what that was. Right, and then gently fold together the ingredients. Now the gently bit is important, because if you mix too much, you will then get a heavy cake. I'm just going to add the rest of the pumpkin, because that will add a bit of moisture. Whenever you put any wholemeal flour into a bake, you need to put in extra moisture. The same is if you're baking with gluten-free. This will be a really good cake to make gluten-free, because any gluten-free recipes, cakes, need to have extra moisture in them, and you'll get moisture from the pumpkin. Right, that's nicely mixed together now, and that is going into my loaf tin. Now, if I didn't have a liner, I would have to grease this really well, but I buy these loaf-shaped liners from the supermarket because they're really handy. Means I can make a loaf cake in no time at all. So in this goes. I always spoon the first 2 bits in carefully. And I actually stick that liner to the cake with a little bit of marge, because otherwise you run the risk of, when you pour the cake batter in, it going down the side in between the liner and the cake, and that makes for a mess. Right, so now I can probably pour that in. Oh, sorry, I forget that I need to twist my hand when I'm filming. But I think that's enough. Oh, although I suppose I am not going to be topping this cake. This cake does not need any icing on it, so it doesn't matter if it domes out of the tin. Quite often, if I have a lot of extra cake mixture, I will just put some in a cupcake. I have some little silicone cupcake cups, for want of a better word, and I'll just make a little cupcake, which is always good because I think that's the baker's test. But I'll pop it all in. And here is where you just scatter over a little handful of your chocolate chips, and this is why this cake doesn't need any frosting, because it has nice melted chocolate on the top. There we go. And that now goes into the oven. I'll just get that bit off the tin, otherwise that will burn. It goes into the oven and bakes for 45 minutes to an hour. So there's quite a lot of mixture in there, and it's got a lot in it with the pumpkin in. So it goes in for 45 minutes. Now I'm going to lick my fingers. I wouldn't normally do this, but that is delicious. That's really nice with the pumpkin and the spice. But I need to press the button on my camera to say we are finishing the video. I will bring it out and just quickly jump on to show you how it's made. Jerry, hello, nice to see you. Making a pumpkin and chocolate loaf cake, a Halloween treat, using up the pumpkin from people's pumpkin lanterns. So this is going in the oven for an hour, and I'll pop back on and show you what it looks like. Okay, so thanks for watching. If you want to know about a pumpkin soup, I put up a pumpkin soup video earlier today. So tonight for Halloween, we are having pumpkin soup for tea, followed by chocolate pumpkin cake, and we're going to go and sit in my friend's garden because it's the last time we'll be able to do that. So we'll be keeping safe, we'll be keeping socially distanced, but we will be enjoying soup and cake and maybe a little glass of something together. So happy Halloween, keep well. I'm going to start doing more cooking videos, as I think we need, it helps to keep my spirits up, and hopefully it'll help to keep yours up too. Bye bye.